Peace and blessings, your girl Elishua. I just wanted to speak about something that was on my heart this morning before I go out. It's about the concept of loving your enemies and why you should love your enemies. Put my bell down. When the Messiah or Jesus Christ is said to have said in the Bible that we should love our enemies, what does that mean? Basically, there's a parable in the Bible in Luke, the book of Luke, that gives two examples of kind of illustrations of why it is important to love your enemies. And I'm going to kind of tell you why these two parables actually do have to do with loving your enemies. Basically, we are all from one source, and we are all children of that one source. And for all the people who have a hard time loving their enemies or giving them what they need, which is positivity, to neutralize their negativity, this is all science. The only way for you to combat evil is with good. Okay? Why? And when we say evil and good, we're talking about positive and negative. If something is overly negative, you can't add more negative to it and expect for it to become positive. You have to add the opposite, what it's lacking, or basically something that's going to be compatible with it. So you have to add to it. So you neutralize. This is just simple, like neutral, acidity, alkalinity. How do you neutralize something? You add equal parts on both sides. So by you loving your enemies, you are neutralizing the negativity. And if you can understand this and overstand this and internalize this and get this, if we're all from one source, that means that all these people out here who are coming against you, harming you, are actually part of you. Because as I showed the other day in one of my videos, there's just white blank page of nothingness, unlimited potential. And from this, this is just an illustration. From that one dot came everything you see, including the trees, the birds, the rocks, the animals, everything. Good and bad. The negative and the positive. The demons and the saints. All of it. They all came from God, or the first cause of all things. So if you look at it like that, if you're upset with someone, or if someone is coming against you, it's actually you. Because in the beginning there was only one, and that one became many. So you are actually only fighting yourself. And the only way to reconcile yourself is to give yourself what it lacks. In the Bible, it's constantly talking about the body being one, God, referring to God as one body. If you look in the Old Testament, the temple formation actually looked like a man or a body of a person. You've got to get this through your head if you're ever going to truly understand why you should love your enemies. You are all one. We are all one. The good, the bad, the ugly. And the only way to restore, and you can't think you're going to restore yourself and not restore everything around you. Because everything around you is you. I know that's, it took me a minute to wrap my head around that and to understand how is everything me and how are we all one. Like, I'm not like that evil thing over there, and I'm not like this serial killer, I'm not like this rapist. You've got to open your heart and understand that we're all one. I don't care how you want to continue to fight it, it's the truth. And I'm going to define the word. Basically, these two parables that I'm going to read to you are illustrating how, and they're not literal stories, of course, they're parables. They have morals. I'm going to define what a moral is and what a parable truly is supposed to be about. It's trying to illustrate a greater and deeper point to you. It's trying to show you that you must restore things. And even if something departs from you, that's the division, that when it comes back, you must accept it with joy and receive it with love. And the only way to draw it to you is to put out that vibration. Because when you're putting out a certain thing, you're drawing things towards you. You're putting out a different vibration out into the universe, into the world. And then you're changing things. That's how you have the power to create a different reality. And if you believe that, then it will happen. So The definition of moral is a lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent, that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or an experience. So these two parables that I'm going to read you are just that. They are stories that show you what's right or prudent. Now, it might not feel right. It might not feel good to say, oh, I'm loving my enemies. But guess what? It's going to actually benefit you in the end. That's why the Bible also has the scripture that says, no man hates his own flesh. It says that you are to love, husbands are to love their wives like Christ loved the church. Why? Because no man hates his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it. If your hand gets a cut on it, you don't sit here. A sane person wouldn't cut it off. You know, they would heal it. And even if you have something like a severe infection setting in, if you actually use holistic methods and herbs and the things that we have available to us from the earth, it would actually heal. There's no reason for anybody to have anything amputated at all. But we've been brainwashed into thinking that you got to cut things off, and it's actually kind of revolting and sickening to me. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, until people wake up, they're going to continue to let people do these things to them until they take their own power back and understand that there are ways to heal things, and they work. And you don't have to resort to cutting them off. And I think I responded to someone on Facebook. Even if you cut off a limb, there's still this thing called a phantom limb syndrome. Basically, the person will still feel pain. Like if I cut off my arm from the elbow up, and there's just from my elbow down, you know, here, I'm still going to feel pain here in this empty space, because you cannot destroy a soul. It's an illustration. It's showing you through nature. That phenomenon is showing you haven't killed anything. All you do is take away the physical here. It's still there. That's why they can feel it. But, you know, look into that. It's very interesting. That came to me the other day, and I was very interested that you know, I put that together. You cannot kill something. Even if you chop it off, you're not destroying anything. It's still there. That's why you feel the pain from it. So anyway, the parables in Luke 15, starting at verse 1, there's two of them. The one of the lost sheep and the one of the lost son. And this parable also speaks to people who say that there's certain people that are going to be destroyed, and there's certain people that are going to, you know, be saved and all these different things. That's not going to, it doesn't happen like that. I have been through my own, you know, questioning and saying, okay, all these people who are still evil or still wicked or whatever you want to call them, still not walking right or whatever you want to say, are they like destroyed ultimately? No. The Creator, the Creator, the first expression of all things, these are his children, his and her children. Why would they destroy their children? The whole concept of Satan and all these angels and all these different things being cast and thrown away, that's not true. Because first of all, they are not literal souls or beings. They're components of you, and you have to restore them. But we'll get into that. That's a whole nother lesson, a whole nother thing. So let's deal with this. These two parables here show you that if you're right and you're so holy and you're so perfect, you have no need to be restored. The only things that need to be restored are the sick things, the evil people of the world, the so-called sinners of the world, the divided and the split and the disunioned people of the world. They are the ones who need it. Remember what Jesus said. He said, the well have no need of a physician. So whom else, if you feel as if you are holy and righteous and perfect and need no salvation and no redemption and changing, then what do you need? What are you in need of anything for? I mean, who's going to save you? Even though, yes, you save yourself. But what are you needing restoration for if you're so perfect? So that doesn't make any sense to say, well, he's going to cast away these people and they're going to hell and they're going to burn forever. That doesn't even make sense. Because those are the very ones that need salvation. And no, there's not a time limit, and it's not how it works. So anyway, let me read these parables to you. Parable of the lost sheep. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So here we go with this holier than thou attitude. So Jesus told them this story. Notice, just what I'm telling you, he's telling them. These religious Pharisees, like, these people are evil and they're sinners and not in the right way. Why are you even talking to them? You don't associate with them. Really? This is what he told them. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Parable, let's see, and let's skip verse 8 because it's about the parable of the lost coin. I want to do the parable of the lost son. To illustrate this point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, "I want my share of your estate now before you die." So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all his money in wild living. And about the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, 'Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant.'" So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But his father said to the servants, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we have been fattening. We must celebrate with the feast. For this son of mine was dead and now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found." So the party began. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. And he asked one of the servants what was going on. "Your brother is back," he was told, "and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return." The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, "All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. And in all that time you have never even given one young goat for a feast with my friends. When this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf." His father said to him, "Look, dear son, you have always stayed with me and everything I have is yours. We have to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found." I don't know what else I can say about that. I mean, it's pretty much clear. If you're so perfect, holy, and righteous, you have no need of any redemption, salvation. You're cool. You're in there, right? So to all the people who think it's fruitless or futile to love their enemies, these stories have many, many, many meanings. They could speak to you if you are someone in a certain religious organization that thinks that certain people, or religious movement that thinks that certain people go to hell and certain people go to heaven, which, first of all, that's not even a reality. Heaven and hell, as far as where you go, that's not the whole story, but I've talked about that in other videos. So your perception is a little short-sighted because it's not even how it works. But if you're, oh Lord, I'm always picking on Black Hebrew Israelites. They with the, "Ooh, these people are going to hell. We the chosen Black Hebrew Israelites, right? And these other people are not, and they gonna be servants in the kingdom." No, that's not even what this time about. I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it a million more times. Apply everything in the Bible to yourself. Look at yourself as the body. Apply all these principles to you. Stop looking at everybody else trying to say, "Well, you going here and you going there and blah, 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 blah." That's not how it works. The Bible's not about that. This collection of books has been so bastardized and just jacked up and raped and torn apart. It's ridiculous. It's hilarious to me to see how people misrepresent this book that has nothing to do with the application that they use it for. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you a little metaphysical kind of little deeper stuff. All these people who are coming against you are coming against you for a reason. Because it's the very nature of a thing that is separated from its source to kind of lash out against other people. It works on that level. It's like it's just the nature of things. When you are separated from your source, that's just what happens. you end up lashing out at things unknowingly, which again is why Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Because it's like you're not conscious of it. But as you climb the ladder, you start to see how everything's connected, and it's easier for you to stop doing that stuff. It's just like a dog that's been abused. You know, if you go adopt a puppy and it tries to bite you, it doesn't know you yet. You haven't warmed up to it. So it's probably going to lash out at you too, because it doesn't know that you're not going to hurt it. So it's kind of a healing thing, putting on those good vibrations and restoring that person. It's like a traumatic experience. And then everything that comes along is lashed out at. Whether or not it's a threat or not, it's like it wants to defend itself. That's kind of how the soul works. The one soul that's split up into many. So what you have to do is love it and cause it to want to come back and draw it back in by putting out these positive vibrations. Okay? So, lots of love and light to all of you. One infinite love. And hopefully this video sparks, plows some, you know, I'm either planting seeds or preparing the ground. So in the next lifetime, or maybe later on, you can accept this word or this truth that we're all one. And the only way to restore things back to unity and wholeness or holiness is to do good. Each individual link has to do good and do right and put that vibe out there. So, with that said, peace and love.